Good afternoon, First Presbyterian Church, Fort Collins. My name is Seth Sandstrom, and I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple bread recipe today that you could use for communion bread, since you can't do communion at the church. This is a simple recipe. It only has 4 ingredients, which hopefully you will have at home in your pantry. So we are going to get started. So we start out with 3 cups of lukewarm water. Should be around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you're getting it out of the tap, just a little bit warmer than body temperature. And that goes right into the bowl. And then we have 1.5 tablespoons of granulated yeast, which is 2 packets of yeast. And we're going to sprinkle that in on top of the water. 1.5 tablespoons of kosher or other coarse granulated salt. Sprinkle that in. And then we have 6.5 cups of unsifted all-purpose flour. And this is what makes it fairly easy. You don't have to use bread flour. You don't have to sift it. You don't have to weigh it. Just 6.5 cups. All goes in at once. And we're doing this with a stand mixer today. You can do this by hand as well. Just take a little bit more effort. Lock our bowl in. We're going to use a dough hook attachment. The recipe for this will be in the comment section of this video, so you can take a look for it there. So we'll start out on slow speed, so you don't blow flour out of the bowl, going everywhere. And then when it starts to come together, we speed it up just a little bit more. Too fast, we'll slow it back down. Now this recipe doesn't require kneading, so really all we're going to do is just let it mix until everything comes together. Okay, so we've just mixed this until it all comes together and there's no dry spots left and everything is all mixed in together well. And it's still a little bit sticky. So you might want to put a little bit of oil on your hands to do this. But we're going to take the dough, here's what it looks like now, and we're going to get it out of this bowl into a clean bowl. We're actually just going to use the one I had the flour measured into beforehand. Get it all in there. And now we're going to let this rise at room temperature for 2 hours. We want to cover it, but we don't want it to be airtight. So we're just going to use a plate. You could also use plastic wrap, maybe poke a couple holes in it, or even a clean dish towel would work just as well. Well, it's been just over 2 hours, and it has risen. It has risen indeed. And definitely could have used a bigger bowl, because it kind of rose all over the counter. So we're going to remove our plate here, scrape the dough off of that, and we're going to get it all back into the bowl. And we're going to sprinkle some flour on top, kind of make it so it's not quite so sticky. That's about a tablespoon or so. Now we're going to carefully kind of work it down in and deflate it. Okay. Now, the recipe calls to make our dough balls and put it onto a pizza peel. And that's a piece of equipment that not everybody has. So to try and do something that's going to work be a little more universally available, we're just using a piece of corrugated cardboard with a couple pieces of wax paper on it. And I'm sprinkling a little bit of corn meal on the wax paper. And that will act like ball bearings and will keep the dough from sticking to the paper. So now we're going to take our dough, and we want to get approximately 1 pound balls. And I've got a serrated knife, so we get off about a pound. weigh it just to see where we're at. So it's about half a pound. It's just under a pound. Put another little bit on there. So there's a pound. Get a little more flour on my fingers. I'm going to take the dough and we're going to form it into a ball. And we're going to do that by pulling from the center and kind of pinching it down at the bottom. So we're pulling from the center and wrapping the dough down around to the bottom. It starts sticking. Get a little bit more flour in your hands. And just kind of keep pulling and pinching until you get a nice smooth ball. And on the bottom, it'll look like like a steam bun, all bunched up at the bottom there. But it should be nice and smooth on the top. So once you get a nice smooth round ball, we're going to set that over here on our cornmeal, and we'll do it again. Okay, so these have risen for about 40 minutes, and I was able to get 4 balls, 3 of them. This one was, I think, just over a pound. The last one ended up being just under, so we have 4 balls out of it. So next step, I've got the oven preheated to 450 degrees, and I used our stoneware cookie sheets in the oven and preheated those as well. A regular baking sheet would work just fine. Stoneware is better if you got it. I also have a cake pan on the rack underneath the stoneware pans, and we're going to be pouring some water in there once we have the dough in the oven. That water does a quick injection of steam, and it helps get the exterior crust nice and crisp and crackly. So we are going to take a little bit more flour and sprinkle it on top of each one of our balls. Rub it in just a skosh. And then we've got the same serrated knife we used before. We're just going to cut a quick slash going in about an inch, inch and a half. Now, I did determine that these stuck a little more than I was hoping they would to the wax paper. So we're not going to be able just to slide them off onto our hot pans the way we would like, but I'm going to try and kind of flip them upside down into my hand and then put them onto our hot pans. So we'll open up the oven, pull out our rack, and I'm trying to do this as gently as I can so we don't deflate too much of our rising. There. Alright, so we will push that back in. And then we've got a cake pan here. We're really very quickly going to pour a cup of cold water into the pan and then quickly shut the oven door. Alright, it's been in the oven for 30 minutes. It is ready to come out. Nice and golden brown. Rose a little bit from when it went in, but not too much. Nice and brown on the bottom. Sounds kind of hollow, like it should. So now at this point, you can let it cool thoroughly on the rack. And once they're thoroughly cooled, wrap them up tight, put them in a Ziploc bag, and store them in the refrigerator until they're ready.